The history of Agikuyu using songs as a way to protest started way back in 1929 during the famous Thogoto Declaration. During this declaration, which was said to be against female circumcision, caused a rift between Agikuyu and the Kikuyu who supported the abolition of female circumcision. This was a big deal back then and was a bone of contention between the Agikuyu and the Christian missionaries. It birthed the first nationalist song called Muthirigu. This is a clip by the great educator called Mwalimu, who did a version of the song. You can find the full version of the song on YouTube. After independence, various groups were formed to make sense of their life after the struggle of independence. These groups can be said to be linked to the survivors of the Mau struggle, forest fighters, aka Itungati. They formed the so-called Thaai sects. The Thaai sect, that borrows much from Gikuyu traditions, was founded by the late Ngonya wa Gakonya when he became disillusioned with Christianity in the late 1980s. It was started as the Tent of the Living God in Nairobi's Karioko area before relocating to Gando along Ngong Road in Nairobi. Ngonya died at the age of 50 in 1986. These Thaai sect followers don't conform to the teachings of the Bible, as shown by the following article that was featured in the Standard newspaper. The sect's rituals are conducted while facing Mount Kenya, the mythological home of the Kikuyu God. Thaai sect leader Njenga wa Manyara claims, and I quote, "The Bible propagates Jewish traditions which are adhered to by African Christians, who in turn discard their African traditions which are not inferior to those of the Jews." He continues, "Why do foreigners insist on forcing Jewish practices on us?" Poses Manyara. "We had our own ways and they had theirs. We stick with ours and they stick with theirs." Nanga Wugushu, also a leader, says their fraternity does not conform to written rules or teachings, but they have procedures for each ritual. The sacrifices are heralded by visions from members. And I quote, "We do as our ancestors used to do decades ago. We praise and at times offer sacrifices when we want to beseech our God. When one of us gets a vision, we interpret it and then conduct rituals accordingly," explains Ushu, adding that sacrifices are offered by selected members who must abstain from sex for some days before the ceremony. Gushu further explains that whenever a member dies, the cause of death is laid bare during the burial. As we don't sugarcoat his or her eulogy, we say it as it is. Manyara reveals that decades ago, every community had ways of communicating with God, and he responded to their prayers. Why did we fall for a doctrine that eroded our culture and forgot the God we prayed to and answered our prayers? We don't know much about the Bible, but sometimes we feel it is disrespected by its followers or lacks the purpose it was intended for, he says. Ndungu Mwaneki, a member of the sect, argues that the Bible has become a popular novel. He says, and I quote, "Why do they use it to swear in courts and publicly only to dishonor that oath? For us, we don't joke with the covenant that we make with our God," says Mwaneki. This is another article that was written around the year 1990 in response to government attacks on the same Thaai sect, Hema ya Ngai we Muoyo. This is a group that had existed unofficially from the 1980s But since they started attacking Christianity, they attracted the wrath of the government, including the then President Muoyo. This is the article. One of the most disheartening trends in post-colonial Kenya is the lack of agency and respect allowed to pure African traditions. Another legacy of British influence, the rejection of indigenous African ways, is an unfortunate manifestation of a cultural inferiority complex that many in Kenya can't seem to rise above. President Moi, in the year 1990, stated that, and I quote, "Costumes do not make a culture," in reference to his banning of the wearing of animal skins during traditional dancing ceremonies. One has to wonder about the Turkana, Pokot, Rendile, Samburu, and Gabra people who are living pretty much the same nomadic and pastoral lives as they did hundreds of years ago. Animal skins on Turkana men and women are as acceptable and common as the accurately worn by the Samburu Morans. Of course, the stereotypical primitive is just a reference point in a simplified history used to diminish those it is directed at, usually by the dominant culture. For the majority of those still living in largely pre-colonial conditions, every once in a while, some politician professing to represent them in Nairobi's parliament shows up to seek votes, promising to build a new road or health center. Otherwise, their cultural and civic connection to what has become independent Kenya is tenuous. Occasionally, something happens that throws conflict between modernity and tradition into sharp relief. In January, a Kikuyu religious sect called Hema, Ngai, Muoyo, translated roughly from Agikuyu to Tent of the Living God, was banned and deregistered as a legitimate religion. Its leaders arrested, even though it had been in existence officially since the 1980s. The ceremonies and beliefs of the group are nothing more or less than traditional Kikuyu forms of worship. The Agikuyu always believed that Ngai, or God, lives atop Kirinyaga, aka Mount Kenya, and typical of traditional African groups have strong belief in the existence and influence of the ancestors. The article continues. Recently, Hema and Ngai Muoyo had been making some very strong public statements during their congregations, questioning the missionary perpetration of Jesus Christ's ethic to the African people. The obvious point they made was that thousands of Africans have lost their land and livelihoods due to this conversion. Somewhere along the way, the word conman was attributed to Jesus Christ. One of the local newspapers jumped onto this, and the headlines for the next week labeled Hema and Ngai Muoyo as an antichrist sect. Kenya is a predominantly Christian country with a large Muslim and Hindu populations, and things steamrolled, as they often do here, into a witch hunt, culminating with Moi publicly condemning the group, claiming that, "A true believer in the Almighty, I will never allow such a group to confuse their people." Less openly discussed is the obvious tribal dimension of an authentically Agikuyu group making waves in a tense political climate. Moi's sycophantic chorus has taken up the cause, and the Tent of the Living God has since been deregistered by the government, accused of being a front for certain rich tribalistic individuals sowing seeds of discord, and a litany of other cliches trotted out to discredit those deemed out of line with the prevailing political zeitgeist. So, a group that strives to preserve and honor their traditional spiritual beliefs has now been silenced. This is one of their worship songs that is available in YouTube.
Aye, aye, aye. Will thy